Today, a Florida couple held hostage in Beirut speaks out about their captures, and fire races through a Brevard County home for the second time this week.
A report on how American security officials keep their eye on Russian spies and what the July 4th holiday means to Central Florida tourism industry. I'm Bob Sokoler.
And I'm Mary Hamilll. Newswatch 6 is next.
This is WCPX TV 6. This is Newswatch 6.
Good evening. In Miami, a tragic story. A Miami police officer responding to a disturbance call today shot and killed a 28-year-old woman after she pointed a realistic-looking toy pistol at him. Maria O'Cana died minutes after Officer David Herring fired 2 shots at her. Police officials say they received a call this morning that 2 women were arguing at an intersection and one of them was waving a gun. Witnesses at the scene say when Officer Herring arrived at the intersection, O'Cana pulled out the pistol and pointed it at Herring. The officer then opened fire with his service revolver. Investigators later discovered that O'Cana's weapon was actually a toy pistol. One of the 39 former TWA hostages is trying to wipe the 17-day ordeal out of his mind, so he says next weekend he'll fly to Orlando and visit Epcot Center. Michael Bradley Brown and his wife Judy were on their honeymoon when their TWA Flight 847 was hijacked. Michael and Judy are back together again and have picked up their honeymoon where they left off, spending the 4th of July holiday weekend at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami. Michael talked to reporters about his 17 days in captivity, saying he had mixed reactions.
Some people were very kind, some people were not as kind. I could see individual people and how, all around the world, there's good and bad everywhere.
Michael did criticize the Miami Herald newspaper for printing the fact that he was Jewish, a fact that if discovered by Shiite gunmen could have meant death.
Holidays like this 4th of July long weekend are traditionally times of heavy casualties on our nation's highways. Nationally, 398 people have lost their lives on U.S. roads since Wednesday night. Here in Florida, the number who've died in traffic accidents is 28. Holiday accidents in Florida so far are less than expected this year, while attendance at area theme parks, hotels, and restaurants is way up.
Thousands of tourists have flocked here over the past 4 days and are now returning home.
One of the big questions is how much money are these vacationers leaving behind?
To get an idea, Newswatch 6 reporter Bob Tucker talked with a typical family on vacation. He's now in our newsroom with that story. Bob?
Well, Bob and Mary, airline representatives, restaurant managers, and police officers predict this has been one of the biggest ever 4th of July weekends. They say out-of-state families are the biggest spenders. We met one this afternoon. Meet the Calderon family of Long Island, New York. Tonight, they're flying home after spending the 4-day holiday weekend in Orlando. While here, the 6-member family spent about $2,800, or an average of $700 per day. Much of that money, about $2,000, went for airfare, lodging, and a rental car. The rest was spent on meals and souvenirs like T-shirts and stuffed animals.
Little things, gifts, that's where they got you. Especially at SeaWorld, they get you coming in, going out, sitting down. Every time you look around, there's somebody trying to sell you something. That's where they get you.
This is the family's first vacation in 6 years, and they chose the Orlando area because of its appeal to children. They say they'll probably be back again, only next time, not in the summer, when high temperatures and big crowds are just too much. Would you recommend that other people come here too?
Not in July. Too hot. Too hot.
And one interesting note, while area merchants do report increased traffic in their stores, many say tourists aren't spending as much as previous holiday weekends. But Bob and Mary, final spending figures and attendance records won't be available until later this month, so we won't know until then whether this weekend has been a record setter.
Okay, thanks very much. Let's just hope they all had a great time. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. A fire that will be investigated as a possible arson case gutted a home in Titusville today. Firefighters estimate damages at $150,000. They were called to the home last week for another fire. There was some damage then. This fire destroyed the home. It was vacant with no power on inside. The state fire marshal is on his way to investigate what local firefighters are calling very suspicious.
Today, a special appeal in the Orlando Sentinel for the return of 6-year-old Regina Armstrong. It appeared on page H3 of today's paper and was called an open letter to Regina's abductor. Written by Regina's family, relatives, and friends, it asks the person who took Regina to please keep her safe, let her go and be on your way. It has now been 19 days since Regina was abducted while playing outside an East Orlando apartment building. Regina's parents are praying that the letter works. Federal officials in Washington are constantly on the watch, and one of their biggest jobs is knowing where foreign spies are.
Newswatch 6 Washington correspondent Steve Gasquet says the federal government now has a license to follow.
Surveillance is a big part of the Washington diplomatic scene. After all, an estimated 100 KGB and Soviet military spies operate in the Washington area. It's the FBI's job to keep an eye on them. It would be nice if the spies all drove Russian-built Ladas, but more often they're in Chevys, Fords, or AMCs.
The FBI needed help figuring out what agents were going where, when, and with whom. The State Department responded and helped out the FBI with the newest in surveillance tactics, the coded license plate.
SX is for the Soviet Union. It's one of 18 countries on a new FBI watch list in Washington. Who's on the list? Countries which have communist governments, or which, for unreleased reasons, require extra surveillance. I asked a Soviet spokesman, who would identify himself only as Vladimir, if the plates were a problem for his country's diplomats. He had no comment. Other countries on the watch list include CY, the People's Republic of China, DC, Cuba, QU, Nicaragua, QW, Poland, and FY, South Africa. Every country has coded plates, but allies such as WZ, Great Britain, and TG, Canada, aren't on the FBI surveillance list. Will the watch list be successful? The FBI isn't talking, but there are so many Soviet SX plates around Washington, it's hard to imagine everyone is being tailed. And one would hardly expect the Soviet equivalent to James Bond to advertise. In Washington, I'm Steve Gasquet on the News Watch.
A new thing for tourists to watch for when they go to Washington.
Brand new. A very special tribute when Newswatch comes back. Along
with some of the country's best musicians in town and keyed for competition. Those stories and more when we come back. Participants in an accordion contest are getting keyed up for some national competition today in Orlando. About 500 young players from around the country are in town this weekend for the Accordion Championship and Festival. The top winner will compete in the Accordion World Cup contest held this year in Vienna, Austria. Contest organizers say the popularity of accordions is growing.
Increasingly more popular. It's already been accepted at 30-some-odd institutions of higher learning, colleges, universities throughout the country where one may major on accordion.
After today's competition, the young music makers played for thousands of tourists at Walt Disney World and Epcot Center. Meanwhile, at the Maitland Civic Center, some more sweet sounds. About 50 of Orlando's best jazz players gathered to raise money for a special scholarship. The scholarship will be in memory of the late Ken Woodring, a local musician who played for years at several Orlando nightclubs and restaurants. Organizers hope to raise at least $1,000 from today's concert. The scholarship will go to a local student wanting to study music.
Tonight, a special Crime Line update. It has been 8 years since the first Crime Line hit the air. Since then, hundreds of crimes have been solved and millions of dollars worth of stolen property recovered. Officer Jim Bishop of the Orlando Police Department has an inside look at why Crime Line works so well.
This month, Crime Line is 8 years old, and we'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, the citizens of Central Florida, for our success. Through tips to the Crime Line phone, over 930 felony crimes have been solved, over $5.3 million worth of stolen property has been recovered, and over $40,000 in rewards were paid. So far in 1985, we have already helped to solve more cases than we did in all of 1984. We've also paid out more rewards than we did in all of 1984. Crime Line was organized by, is governed by, is financially supported by, and functions for the benefit of the citizens of Central Florida. And the citizens have done a fine job in helping to make this area a safer place in which to live. So remember, if you have any information concerning any unsolved crime, not just those that we televise, call Crime Line in Orlando at 849-2482. You won't have to give us your name, and if your information leads to an arrest, you'd be eligible for a reward of up to $1,000. Crime Line is produced in cooperation with the University of Central Florida and the City of Orlando. This is Officer Jim Bishop of the Orlando Police Department.
Pat Michaels with the Monday forecast when Newswatch 6 comes back.
But first, the overnight cruise returns to Central Florida. Newswatch will be right back.
Famous brands know you're
To the manager, and you're talking to the boss.
Tonight, a sneak preview to one of Central Florida's newest tourist attractions. The location of this special preview, Sanford, the St. Johns River, and the front seat of our Skywatch 6 chopper. Now, this was the scene this morning as a catamaran romance left Monroe Harbor in downtown Sanford. Today was a romance's christening cruise. Regular overnight service will begin next Sunday. The $1.5 million craft holds 395 people and will take passengers on a 180-mile round trip to Palatka, docking overnight and returning the next day. On board the romance today, Newswatch 6 reporter Larry Mullins. Larry will have a special report on what it's like to travel the St. Johns River aboard the romance tomorrow on Newswatch. And what a day it was today to be out there on the cruise. Huh,
Let's
Pat?
hope Larry is back tomorrow. May not be till Monday. No, it'll be a beautiful day for a cruise or anything, but it is hot. And you mentioned earlier it felt like it was humid because she's trying to pull all the curls. You know, your hair really does in this humidity. It feels like 102 degrees outside, and
Does.
that's what happens. Come on, let's take a look at Central Florida today, everybody. High temperature in Orlando got up to 93 degrees. Look at this, though. Ocala had 96 for a high. Daytona Beach 91, and down at Melbourne 90. 76 last night for a humid low temperature in Melbourne. 94 in Orlando. Currently in Orlando, 94 degrees. The humidity is up at 46%. That makes the temperature, as I said, 102, or it makes it feel like it is. That is called the humidity index. Southwest winds at 5, 30.14 in holding. Melbourne has 88, 75% with a wind southeast at 9 and 30.14. Daytona Beach 88, 66% on the humidity with the winds out of the east and 30.12 and holding. The map this afternoon shows you high pressure out in the Atlantic sweeping back into Florida. That is beginning to take hold, and it has been there, but the only problem is with the low pressure trough that moved through yesterday. We got quite a bit of shower activity. Most of that has died out, but the Panhandle this afternoon did get more rain. After Pensacola had all that rain yesterday, they had over 7 inches of rain. Well, it is raining around the area now through Tallahassee. Heaviest showers again around Jacksonville. They've had more than their dose of showers and just a few batches of showers up around Georgia. And again, some showers along a frontal area that is moving through West Virginia. Just a few dots of showers. Matter of fact, it is a quiet afternoon across the nation. Out west, just a few dots of showers, but for the most part, high pressure dominating. It is hot out west. Take a look at the satellite picture. You can see just a little bit of cloud cover, but you can really see the cloud cover associated with what little bit of a low pressure is left out in the Gulf of Mexico. That is moving to the northeast. Georgia, Alabama, over to Mississippi and Louisiana getting those heavy showers, and that'll be again the case tomorrow. But our state looks much better today. Mostly clear skies as well as the rest of the southeast. If you do not include Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and into Louisiana. Okay, now the forecast map tomorrow showed you that the southern part of the United States around the Gulf of Mexico, heavy showers expected, but we'll see clear skies in the northern part of Georgia through the Carolinas and a trough moving down through the Great Lakes. A good chance of showers there. Now out west, again, hot. It was up to 110 degrees last hour in Needles, California. That'll be the story again tomorrow, but it'll be clear out west. Low temperatures tonight expected for our part of the country. 70s for all of our states, 60s dipping down to the Georgia, 50s up in the New England states. Here's that current satellite picture of our state as we zoom in. We can see the heavy cloud cover around Gainesville up to Jacksonville, Lake City, and there are heavy showers in Jacksonville now. 77 degrees. You can see the temperature difference between there and Gainesville, where it is 92. It is 90 degrees in Tallahassee, 93 at Tampa, 89 and beautiful down at Miami. Let's take a look at the radar picture and we'll show you what is happening now. We can see the showers moving to the northeast very slowly and off the coastline of Jacksonville. Not much to talk about. And some just to the west of us around Leesburg, moving to the northeast very slowly. Tonight, 74 degrees at Gainesville, 70 at Tallahassee. It'll be 72 at Jacksonville, warm, 81 degrees for a low expected down at Miami. So the forecast tonight looks like this: clear but humid tonight, 72 to 75 with a wind southwest at 5. Tomorrow, another hot one, and it'll be just as hot tomorrow as it was today, 91 to 94. Winds will be southwest, or make that west at 5 to 10. Now along the east and west coast, winds about variable at 5 to 10, seas 1 to 3 feet, surf temperature 77. Now the 5-day forecast. Well, if you expect any change, there's not going to be any real change. Afternoon, evening showers, 94 Tuesday. It will be probably about 95 by Wednesday. Bob?
Or even Mary, thank you. Walking into the Brevard Arts Center in Melbourne these days is a little like walking into a time machine. The entrance is guarded by a 16th century suit of armor, and if you get by that, you'll find many forms of arms and armor from the 14th through 17th centuries on display, from axe heads and crossbows to some other interesting articles. All this medieval finery is on loan from the Ringling Museum in Sarasota. You can view the exhibit all week.
Bob Gosselin with Sunday Sports is next on Newswatch.
Bob will have highlights of today's big Boris win at Wimbledon. Sports and more when we come back.
Stanley talks about his
warehouse where pools are truly factory direct.
A new favorite may have been born today. His name is Boris Becker.
I tell you what were you doing in your 17th summer? Winning Wimbledon? No, I was on a beach somewhere chasing bikinis. I tell you what, only 8 unseeded players had ever reached a Wimbledon final. None had won a single set. 17-year-old Boris Becker not only won the first set, but becomes the youngest player ever to win a Wimbledon title. Kevin Curran, the answer to the trivia question, losing 6-3, 6-7, 7-6, and 6-4. Take a look. Becker leading 1-love in set 1, gets a big break on Curran's opening service to go up 2-love. Set point, Becker an ace to take the opening set 6-3. Set number 2, simply awesome. Neither man losing a service game. Becker showing unbelievable control right there to get the point, but the tiebreaker to Curran, nice one right down the line, match tied, 1 set each. Third set, simply awesome again. They break each other once. Curran has Becker diving in the dirt. Again, they go to a tiebreaker. This time, Becker with the big return to take a 2-1 lead. And again, an early break for Becker to start the 4th set. A forehand return that no one's going to get. Take it to match point. How appropriate to win it with that cannon serve. Boris Becker, the youngest ever at Wimbledon, 17 years old, now the 85 men's champion. One other championship match today, mixed doubles. Martina Navratilova adding another title to her singles crown won yesterday. She teamed with Paul McNamee to defeat Liz Smiley and John Fitzgerald in 3 sets. They are down to 2 in the USFL. The Oakland Invaders in Baltimore will battle next week for the title. The Stars beating the Stallions today 28-14 to move on. Take a look. First quarter, the Stars defense gets it going. Jonathan Sutton intercepts Cliff Stout. Take it in 36 yards. 7-0 Baltimore leads. A couple of minutes later, Chuck Fusina, the quarterback, back. He's got Victor Harrison wide open, and the Stars are rolling along. It's 14-0. Second quarter now. Fusina again unloads to a wide-open Kelvin Bryant, one-on-one with a linebacker. The guy's a dead duck. Make it 21-0 Stars at the half. Midway through the final quarter, Bryant puts this one away with a 76-yard run from the scrimmage. The Stars lead 28-0, and they go on to win it 28-14. A full slate of afternoon action in Major League Baseball, starting with the ever-close National League East. St. Louis beat Los Angeles 7-1 to maintain the lead. Exposed a game and a half back. They play at Houston this evening. New York down Atlanta 4-0. They're playing another one this evening. Chicago beat San Francisco 6-5. Padres now lead by 4 in the West as they beat Pittsburgh 3-0 in 10. Cincinnati over Philadelphia 3-2. Over in the American League, Toronto 5-1 over Oakland in the 4th. Detroit and Texas play tonight. New York 3-2 over Minnesota in 11. They're playing another one right now. Kansas City 8-4 over Baltimore in the 4th. California leads Boston. Also in the 4th, Milwaukee over Seattle, and Cleveland 10-3 over Chicago. Canadian Open Golf Championship today. Curtis Strange watches Jack Nicklaus fall apart in the end. Strange claiming the victory by 2 strokes. 5 golfers tied for 4th at 5 under par. Johnny Miller leading the group with an eagle putt at number 18. Nicklaus with a chance to tie Strange at the 16th. Misses a little nothing birdie putt. Got the par to stay -8, but any chance to win pretty much gone for Jack at the 17th, missing this par putt to drop the bear to 7 under. That his final score. Strange, meantime, gets his par putt at 17, just barely, to maintain the lead at 9 under. Greg Norman came through with this birdie on the final hole to finish in a second-place tie with Nicklaus, but the big money to Curtis Strange. He wins the 1985 Canadian Open. Doug Hannon's Moon Times, a little fishing tomorrow, 7:45 to 9:45 and 8:05 to 10:05 in the evening. On the race courses today, Al Unser Jr. winning a kart event in Cleveland and Nelson Piquet taking the checkered flag at the French Grand Prix. Both men stars on their particular tracks.
But when it comes to catfish racing, no one holds a whisker to greased lightning.
And they're off.
Lightning won the first ever Catfish Grand Prix recently in Greenville, Mississippi, beating out 179 other hopefuls, many obviously racing under duress.
The biggest problem trying to catfish is to give him incentive to run.
And though all the competitors were a bit skittish, post-race drug tests came up negative.
We don't use any chemicals. We don't use any steroids or anabolic steroids. The fish just go for it.
These fish are clean.
These fish are absolutely clean.
Good thing, too, because whoever loses the race loses it all. Truly no tomorrows as the spectators devour the has-beens. But not Grease Lightning, he will race again. And guess where?
I'm coming down to Orlando, Florida. I hear of a slippery fish named Bob Sokoler. I want him. He's mine.
The challenge, the gauntlet, or gill has been put down, as they say. It's up to you. He's coming after you, Sokoler.
That's a tough challenge. I don't envy you that. Thanks, Bob, very much. A final look at our top story when Newswatch returns.
Well, sort of. Their story when Newswatch returns.
Welcome back to that in comedy, New Heights.
Fairway Chrysler Plymouth, we're all but $1. I can deal with you.
Once again, tonight's top story, a Miami police officer shot and killed 28-year-old Maria C. O'Cana while responding to a disturbance call. Officer David Herring fired 2 shots at O'Cana after she pointed a realistic-looking toy pistol at him. O'Cana died within minutes. Police officials say they received a call this morning that 2 women were arguing at an intersection and one was waving a gun.
Orlando definitely has its share of conventions and the many distinct tradesmen they bring together. This weekend in Atlanta, there's a gathering devoted to all that's soft, starry-eyed, and sentimental. The romance writers came to town, as CBS News correspondent Bill Whitaker reports.
Romance filled the air at an Atlanta hotel this weekend. In the lobby, couples danced cheek to cheek at the weekly tea dance. Upstairs, at the 5th annual convention of the Romance Writers of America, 500 writers probed the business of romance. At this workshop, the question was, does sex still sell?
It has to be romanticized. It has to be sensual.
The writing of romance novels is a growing cottage industry of the 80s. Almost 1 million writers, predominantly women, now either flirt with or are seriously involved in romance writing. Never mind that critics call romances mindless fairy tales, they account for almost half the paperback book trade. Some 20 million readers, most of them educated working women, spent about $300 million on romance novels last year, and publishers are aggressively courting an even larger following.
Because you can never have too much romance.
There's an addictive property to these books. The books seem to make women feel wonderful.
But unlike the novels, romance writing does not guarantee a happy ending. So many writers are now pounding out passionate prose that the industry is suffering a romance glut and falling profits. Even established authors like Iris Jansen find it prudent to hold steady jobs.
Eastern Airlines reservation, Miss Jansen?
Still, the romance industry is nothing if not optimistic.
When we get rid of the glut, it's going to begin to get really profitable again.
Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Atlanta.
That's it for now. We'll see you tonight at 11. Good night.
Good evening. This is CBS.
In the news tonight, a breakthrough in the battle to locate those still missing in action from the Vietnam War. And a tragic death in Miami when a woman pulls a toy gun on police.
A report on 4th of July tourism in Central Florida, and an Amtrak train jumps the tracks. Dozens are injured. I'm Mary Hamilll.
And I'm Bob Sokoler. Newswatch 6 is next.
Here's hardworking news from Chevy Trucks. Now, WCPX TV 6. This is Newswatch 6.
Good evening. Tonight, Vietnam has agreed to turn over the remains of more than 24 Americans listed as missing in action in the Vietnam War. It's the largest turnover of American remains since the war ended 10 years ago. The news was released through sources traveling with Secretary of State George Shultz in Asia on a fact-finding mission. Vietnam will turn over the remains of 26 Americans and provide information on 6 others, presumably providing proof of their death. The State Department says it welcomes the moves, but others say not enough is being done.
Live Americans are being held hostage. In fact, it's going on almost 9,000 days.
Sources hope Vietnam's new attitude of cooperation will lead to clearing up all the questions about some 2,500 Americans still listed as missing in action.
Michael Bradley Brown, one of the 39 former TWA hostages, is home tonight and trying to wipe the 17-day ordeal out of his mind. Michael and wife Judy were on their honeymoon when Flight 847 was hijacked. The newlywed couple spent this 4th of July holiday weekend celebrating freedom in the comfort of Miami's Fontainebleau Hotel as the hotel's guests. During a news conference, Brown criticized the Miami Herald newspaper for printing the fact that he was Jewish. Michael said that fact, if discovered by Shiite captors, could have meant his death. Michael says he learned a lot from the experience.
Some people were very kind, some people were not as kind. I could see individual people and how, all around the world, there's good and bad everywhere.
Michael and Judy say next week they're planning to fly up here to Orlando and visit Epcot Center. Northwest Miami was the scene of a tragic shooting today. A 28-year-old woman is dead. A police officer has been relieved of duty pending an investigation. Police officials say Officer David Herring was responding to a disturbance call after receiving a report that 2 women were arguing at an intersection and one was waving a gun. Witnesses say that when Officer Herring arrived at the intersection, Maria Ocana pulled out what appeared to be a gun and pointed it at Herring. The officer then reportedly opened fire with his service revolver, killing her. Later, investigators discovered that Ocana's gun was actually a realistic-looking toy pistol.
This 4th of July holiday weekend has been even busier than usual. Area theme parks, restaurants, and hotels are packed. Newswatch talked with a typical family on vacation, the Calderons of Long Island, New York. Tonight they were flying home loaded down with goodies after spending 4 days in Orlando and about $2,800 on their vacation. Most of that went for airfare, lodging, and a rental car. The rest was spent on meals and souvenirs.
Gifts, that's where they got you. Especially at SeaWorld, they get you coming in, going out, sitting down. Every time you look around, there's somebody trying to sell you something. That's where they get you.
This was the family's first vacation in 6 years. They chose the Orlando area because of its appeal to children. They say they will be back again, but not in the summer when high temperatures and big crowds can be a bit too much. And it was pretty warm today, you have to admit.
It certainly was, and with those warm temperatures, we had a high of 94. We got the afternoon thunder showers and some heavy showers still hanging around. As a matter of fact, Winter Park, we had some calls of power outages there and a little bit of damage, wind damage. That moved up to about Titusville to Daytona Beach. We'll take a look in just a moment, show you what's happening. Let's take a look at Central Florida today. On the almanac page, high temperature here, 96 degrees in Orlando, 74 last night. No rain here. Daytona Beach had 91 and 74, 13/100ths of an inch of rain there, and Orlando make that Orlando 93 and 74. Now this is Ocala up here, folks, with 96 for a high. Okay, and 93. Melbourne 90 and 76. No rain to talk about. Let's take a look at the current conditions in Orlando. The temperature is 80 degrees. 69% winds out of the north, and 30.18 on the barometer and rising. 82 degrees in Melbourne, 30.15. Daytona Beach has 75, 30.15, and rising. Let's take a look at the west, and now we're looking 300 miles south of Acapulco. There is a tropical depression forming there, and this will be the 3rd one of them. If it becomes a tropical storm and eventually a hurricane, which it is likely to do with the winds approaching 30 miles an hour, it does take 35-mile-per-hour winds for that to happen. Just showing you that the hurricane season is active out west in the Pacific, but nothing in the way of a tropical depression in the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic or the Caribbean. We just see some cloud cover along the coastal states through Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, a little bit of cloud cover in northern Georgia, and we can see some around Jacksonville, Florida, and here. It is mostly clear through the plain states and up to the Midwest, and a few dotted showers around West Virginia, up into the New England states. And look at the cloud cover out west, just a little bit of activity there, and some heavy thunder showers. As a matter of fact, in South Dakota, a tornado. And in parts of Texas, a couple of tornadoes touched down, no one injured, just a little bit of damage there. And high pressure building into the southeast. Let's take a look at that radar as we plot it through all of the United States. We can see the scattered showers out west, some of them through New Mexico down into Texas, southern Louisiana. The heaviest showers by far, those showers from Volusia County up to St. Johns County, from Jacksonville, and in our coverage area. As we look at the forecast map tomorrow, a cold front will move down to the Great Lakes states with a trough in the southern part of the Great Lakes states, giving them a good chance of showers there. The rest of the southeast looks pretty good, except the coastal areas around Texas up through Louisiana. And our state does have a chance of showers tomorrow afternoon, even though that high pressure is backing off in here. Hot out west. Look at this. High temperatures tomorrow. This is conservative, by the way. 100-degree marks could reach up into parts of Idaho. Matter of fact, they did have some 100-degree marks up as far as South Dakota. 90s for the rest of the country. 80s dipping down to the northern part of Georgia. Here's that satellite picture. The heaviest showers this afternoon move through the Sanford area around Titusville. Those showers are moving in the Titusville area now to the east. Our radar is out. One of the things that got zapped by lightning this afternoon and around Jacksonville. And again, some heavy showers, 81 degrees and partly cloudy at Gainesville, 77 up at Tallahassee, 82 degrees at Miami, and a warm 80 degrees down the southern part of the state at Miami. 82, by the way, was at West Palm Beach. Okay, tomorrow afternoon, good chance of evening showers, especially in the Panhandle, but it dwindles down to just partly cloudy. Matter of fact, less than a 20% chance of showers in the southern part of the state around West Palm Beach to Miami. And we're going to look at high temperatures tomorrow, 92 for Jacksonville, 94 here. We're expecting about the same thing we had today, 90 down in Miami. So the forecast tonight looks like this. We're going to look at mostly sunny skies, high will be anywhere from 91 to 94. The winds west at 5 to 10. And tomorrow night, we're going to look at sticky. Lows will be 72 to 75. It will be humid, by the way. Winds will be southwest at 5. Along the east coast, variable winds at 5 to 10. Seas 1 to 3 feet with the surf temperature 77. And variable along the west coast. 5-day forecast. Afternoon, evening thunder showers. Not quite as many as we have had this weekend, but there is that chance. And it will be hot up to Wednesday all the way through Friday. Mary?
Thanks, Pat. Coming up later tonight on Newswatch, some alarming facts about convicted criminals. The big meeting that might end up costing you more at the gas pump. Panic in the streets of Spain today during an annual run. Fire rips through a Titusville home for the second time in a week. And dozens are hurt when a train jumps the tracks in Idaho. Those stories and more still to come.
Fire officials are digging through the rubble of a home in Titusville tonight. The house was gutted by fire in what was believed to be a possible arson case. Firefighters estimated damages at $150,000. They were called to the same house last week for another fire. There was some damage, but today's fire destroyed the home. The house was vacant and without power. The state fire marshal is still investigating what local firefighters are calling a very suspicious blaze. Well, tomorrow the search for 6-year-old Regina Armstrong expands nationally thanks to new posters being distributed by the Adam Walsh Research Foundation. Today, the Orlando Sentinel published an open letter to Regina's abductor, written by Regina's family, relatives, and friends. In the letter, the person who took Regina is asked to please keep her safe, let her go, and be on your way. Today marked the 19th day since Regina was abducted outside an East Orlando apartment building.
OPEC leaders have ended their 3-day meeting with no agreement on a strategy to keep oil prices from falling. Oil ministers did agree to preserve the price structure for crude oil and to end all cheating on existing pricing rules. They also agreed in principle to a method of limiting their overall oil production. They head for Geneva in 2 weeks to plot their next move. An Amtrak train has derailed in northwestern Idaho, injuring 81 people. Most were treated and later released, suffering broken bones, cuts, and bruises. It's not known why 11 of the train's 12 cars jumped the tracks today on the train bound from Seattle to Chicago. Tonight, the investigation continues. U.S. law officials are in Canada tonight seeking extradition of Charles Ng. The ex-Marine is wanted in connection with the mass murder of some 25 people at a California survivalist camp. Ng was captured yesterday in a Canadian department store. He was reportedly picked up for shoplifting food.
Some alarming news out of Washington tonight. A recent Justice Department report shows more than half of the murderers released from prison in 1982 had served less than 6 years. The report shows a steady drop in criminal time served dating back nearly 50 years. The figures also show that about one-half of convicted rapists freed in '82 had served only a 3-year term. The Orlando Police Department has spent the past 8 years asking for your help in catching criminals through the Crime Line program.
In tonight's special edition, Officer Jim Bishop looks at how Orlando is doing in the fight against crime.
This month, Crime Line is 8 years old, and we'd like to take this opportunity to the city of Orlando. And this is Officer Jim Bishop of the Orlando Police Department.
Bob Gosselin will have all the weekend sports when Newswatch comes back.
Scores and highlights from around the major leagues today, but first, the danger in the streets of Spain today. We'll tell you how and why when we come back.
Vacation sensation, SeaWorld, the vacation sensation.
They are counting ballots in Mexico tonight, but official election results will not be known for at least a week. Millions turned out to vote today in what's believed to be the strongest challenge ever to the party that has ruled Mexico since 1929. Army troops and local police were stationed at all of the country's voting stations, but there are no reports of violence. In Pamplona, Spain, a little different story. 44 people were injured in the annual running of the bulls. Two Americans were among the people gored, tossed, or trampled. The crazy, wild dawn dash saw more people volunteer than ever to run through the streets of Pamplona, with more than 10 bulls chasing the group. Police say it is a miracle that more people weren't hurt. Now that's because, now take a look at what the men are wearing and carrying. Traditionally, the men wear handkerchiefs around their necks and carry only a rolled up newspaper to ward off bulls.
That's
crazy.
It is.
That is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
My goodness. I bet you didn't see any 17-year-olds running the bulls.
No?
No,
They're all
never know. They're all going to try out for Wimbledon next year, I tell you what. What does a 17-year-old do with $125,000? That is the delightful dilemma of Boris Becker. The West German youngster gets the cash and glory that goes along with being the men's singles champion at Wimbledon. Take a look. Becker leads 1-0 over Kevin Curran. Set number 2. Neither man losing a service game. Becker, unbelievable control, but went to a tiebreaker. Curran took it. Third set, another awesome one. They break each other once. Curran has Becker running, diving in the dirt. Again, the tiebreaker. Becker wins it this time. He leads 2-1. Match point on the big serve. Boris Becker, the youngest winner ever at Wimbledon, just 17 years old, and now the '85 men's champion. The United States Football League is 3 years old, and for the third straight season, a team called the Stars will be in the title game. Baltimore chasing their second consecutive championship thanks to a 28-14 victory over Birmingham. Kind of a Kelvin Bryant day. Baltimore leads 14-0 second quarter. Chuck Fusina to Bryant, one-on-one with a linebacker. Easy touchdown. The Stars lead 21-0 at the half. Midway through the final quarter, Bryant puts this one away. 76-yard run from scrimmage for the touch. Stars up 28-0. Third and fourth string in there. They win 28-14. After 81 games last season, the Blue Jays were 49-32, 7 games behind the Tigers. Today, Toronto is 49-32 and sitting pretty. Detroit won tonight over Texas 5-3, but they're still 2.5 behind the Jays because Toronto beat Oakland 8-2. Take a look. Home runs bouncing out of Alameda County Stadium in Oakland. George Bell gets it going with a 2-run shot, his 16th this season. Dave Kingman takes an inside pitch from Jimmy Key, simply muscles it out and left, his 21st home run this year. But Ernie Witt came back with his 10th round trip for a 3-run blast as Toronto stays atop the East 8-2. Back on the American board, Kansas City over Baltimore 8-4. New York took 2 from Minnesota, 3-2-11, and then 14-2 in the nightcap. Take a look. This is game 1. When it's tied 2-2, you only need 1 in the bottom of the 11th. Dave Winfield, his 10th home run this season. Dave Wardle, the victim on that one, and the Yankees came back with a 14-2 win in the nightcap. Back on the American board, California 8-3 over Boston, Cleveland 10-3 over Chicago, and Milwaukee 2-1 over Seattle. Over the National League, Montreal is trying to stay with the Cards. They're tied 2-2 with Houston after 13 innings. St. Louis beat Los Angeles 7-1. Take a look there. Tom Nieto getting a couple of runs with an Oral Hershiser offering back through the box, and the Cards lead 3-1. Hershiser's throw on this play only exceeded by Candy Maldonado playing keep away from the ball. Score another couple. The Cards won 7-1. I understand he's still out there in Busch Stadium chasing the ball. New York took 2 from Atlanta, 4-zip and 8-5. San Diego shut down Pittsburgh 3-0. You don't need a whole lot of runs when you play the Pirates. Padres got it all in the 7th. Tim Flannery brought in 2 with a double to the track and left. Lamar Hoyt gets a 6-hit shutout. The Padres beat Pittsburgh 3-0. 2 more games in the National League. Chicago 6-5 over San Francisco, and Cincinnati 3-2 over Philadelphia in 10. Take a look there. Bottom of the 7th, Phillies take the lead. Juan Samuel, little poke to short right. Darryl Thomas scores. Phillies lead 2-1. Reds tie it in the 8th, but the top of the 10th, Cesar Cedeno, the winning run on a solo homer to left. The Reds win it 3-2. Down on the farm, minor league action. Orlando 10-4 over Charlotte. Fort Lauderdale 5-1 over Daytona Beach. Miami shut down Osceola 1-0. Vero beat 7-3 over Winter Haven and took 10. Lakeland beat West Palm 5-4. Golf all over the world today. We'll start north of the border in Canada. Jack Nicklaus finishes second for the 7th time. Curtis Strange, the winner of the Canadian Open. 5 golfers tied for 4th at 5 under par. Johnny Miller leading the group with an eagle putt at number 18. Any chance to win pretty much gone for Nicklaus at the 17th, missing this par putt to drop the bear to 7 under. That his final score. Greg Norman came through with his birdie on the final hole to finish in the 2nd place tie with Nicklaus, but the big money to Curtis Strange. He wins the 1985 Canadian Open. Some of the men were over in France. Seve Ballesteros gets ready to defend his British Open title in 2 weeks with a 2-stroke victory at the French Golf Open. Ballesteros 21 under par for his 3rd French title. And back here in the States, the LPGA Hall of Fame tourney in Texas, Nancy Lopez, a red-hot putter, overcomes a 3-stroke deficit to win today by 3 strokes. Her 7 under par, 281, good enough for 45,000 big ones. A little hunting tomorrow, 7:45 to 9:45 in the morning and 8:05 to 10:05 in the evening. You know, they're going to redo the Bull Run in Winter Park. Uh-oh. Yeah, they're gonna have all the people in Winter Park with croissants in their hand and Izods on chasing BMWs and Volvos down Park Avenue. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Good night.
Thanks very much. The cruise ship catamaran Romance is making its first trip down the St. Johns River tonight. The ship is one of Central Florida's newest attractions. This morning, the Romance left Monroe Harbor in downtown Sanford to sail off on its christening cruise. The $1.5 million craft holds 395 people and will take passengers on a round-trip voyage to Palatka, docking overnight and returning the next day. Regular service begins next Sunday. Newswatch 6 reporter Larry Mullins is on board the Romance and will have a special report about his voyage tomorrow on Newswatch. Tough assignment.
Some pretty pictures, though, from Skywatch today. Beautiful. Coming up on Newswatch, a final look at tonight's top story.
But first, part 2 of our special report on the Capitol Dome. Newswatch will be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm...
All the best of Texas on the west coast of Florida.
Busch Gardens in nearby town.
The Capitol building is part of a grand design for the city of Washington, D.C. A view from the dome includes a panoramic glance at all of the city's monuments.
Newswatch 6 Washington reporter Carolyn Gorman takes us on a dome-top tour of the town in part 2 of our special report.
The view from the top of the Capitol Dome shows Pierre L'Enfant's grand design for the nation's capital. Like a wagon wheel, the main streets of the city fan out. The Frenchman designed one of the truly beautiful cities of the world.
Flat, open, lined with trees and shrubbery, kind of vistas. The spokes of a wheel going out are these broad boulevards. Even going down Constitution Avenue, you see a lot of the Parisian architecture of buildings that are 5-6 stories high. It looks very much like Paris.
Standing here, America's landmarks and monuments are put in their proper perspective.
This is one of the most spectacular views anywhere in the world. Looking down over 2 miles of the mall, past the Washington Monument, to the Lincoln Memorial and the Potomac River beyond, with Arlington Cemetery beyond that.
On the other side of the dome, the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress dominate the landscape. You can see RFK Stadium in the distance. And you can see House and Senate office buildings, their green roofs gleaming in the sunshine. High on top of the dome, beneath the Statue of Freedom, are signal lights. The lights are left over from decades ago, when congressional wives wanted a foolproof way to keep track of their husbands.
So the wives in the old days, before they had telephone service, and they could call over to check on their husbands and see how late they were working, they went to the speaker's office and they devised a system where they actually put these lights in over top of here so they could see when the husbands were working.
Some things never change, it seems, and that's good, especially when it comes to the beauty and the grandeur of the Capitol. And there's that wonderful dome up there, a symbol around the world for freedom and democracy. In Washington, I'm Carolyn Gorman on the News Watch.
It is a beautiful city. We'll be back with a look at our top stories.
Plus the Monday morning forecast when we come back.
Red Lobster goes all over the world. Shop at Winn-Dixie for super values today.
Once again, our top story tonight, Vietnam has agreed to return the remains of 26 Americans listed as missing in action in the Vietnam War. This is the largest turnover of American remains since the war ended 10 years ago.
Boris Becker, 17-year-old wonder kid from West Germany, is the men's singles champion at Wimbledon.
How much did he win?
125,000 big ones.
17 years old. Beautiful tomorrow. More sunshine tomorrow. High pressure in the area and just a slight chance of an afternoon shower.
Oh,
Hot,
just a slight chance tomorrow, huh?
Hot,
okay,
yes.
Thanks very much. That's our news for this Sunday night. Join Ben Eggcraig tomorrow morning at 7:25 and 8:25 for the first news of the day.
Until then, thanks for watching us and have a good night.
Look to CBS Sports. This is CBS.
In the news tonight, President Reagan is out of surgery at this hour at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and a Port Orange family heads for Mississippi to claim the remains of a son lost in Southeast Asia.
Preparations for tonight's big jam at Orlando Stadium and the big county meeting in Central Florida this weekend. I'm Bob Sokoler.
And I'm Mary Hamilll. News Watch 6 is next.
Wheels and
Watch too much TV.
This is WCPX TV6. This is News Watch 6.
Good evening. Doctors say he's awake, alert, and doing beautifully. President Reagan underwent surgery this afternoon to have a 2-inch polyp removed from his colon. Doctors say they won't know until Monday whether the growth was cancerous, but Chief of Surgery Dr. David Aller says there was no sign of cancer. The operation lasted about 3 hours. The growth was discovered yesterday when the president was being examined for removal of another small polyp. A full report on the president's operation coming up at 6:30 on the CBS Evening News.
Tonight, more than 12 years of anguish is coming to an end for the Walsh family of Port Orange, Florida.
More than a decade ago, their son was shot down while flying a mission over Southeast Asia. Ed Trosky has their story.
Just be careful now, will you?
Yeah.
Francis Walsh Sr. and son. On the News Watch, I'm Ed Trosky.
Right now, NASA engineers are examining the #2 engine on the Space Shuttle Challenger, still trying to find out what happened. Yesterday, the shuttle's computer shut down the engines with only 3 seconds left before blastoff. The computer found a problem with the #2 engine's fuel valve. But so far, engineers don't know why the valve malfunctioned. If all goes well, the launch could be rescheduled in 7 to 10 days, but indications are the postponement may be longer than that.
The people who spend our tax dollars are in Orlando tonight. Several thousand members of the National Dollar first phase is expected soon.
The state attorney's office tonight is investigating a shooting death in East Orange County. Now, sheriff deputies say 57-year-old John Collins was shot by his ex-wife, Rita, after an apparent argument at their home last night. Deputies say the couple's recent divorce may have been the cause of the fight. No charges have been filed against Mrs. Collins. Tonight, South Florida drug smugglers will find it tougher than ever to transport drugs thanks to a new U.S. Customs crackdown. The agency has added some new weapons, including a toll-free telephone hotline to reward up to $250,000 to callers who furnish information leading to drug arrests and seizures. And the hotline number is 1-800-BE-ALERT and will be manned by Boy Scouts. Also, Florida Senator Lawton Childs says Customs will receive 104 high-speed patrol boats to chase smugglers along the South Florida coast.
This evening, we don't know how many...
Lee Manila on the Newswatch, Tallahassee.
That's good news. Still ahead today on Newswatch, a look at the preparations for the London Symphony in Daytona.
As well as tonight's big jazz jam at Orlando Stadium. Those stories and more when we return.
Jefferson Ward proudly presents the...
by the London Symphony Orchestra with more classical favorites throughout the week.
On top in Orlando tonight, music with a bit stronger beat. In fact, if you're a jazz fan, the place to be is Orlando Stadium. Now, this was the scene over at the stadium's ticket office this afternoon as jazz lovers lined up for tickets to the Cool Jazz Festival '85, each person paying $17.50 to see the Commodores, the Gap Band, Midnight Star, Shalimar, and the Dazz Band. This year's show has 2 stages and a special sound and light system. Starting time for the show is set for 7:30. And right now in London, Philadelphia, and many other parts of the world, pop rock fans are swaying to the sounds of some of the most popular rock performers in the world today. Fans are calling it the concert of the century, Live Aid. Performers are raising money to benefit African famine relief efforts. In Philadelphia, it's been so hot inside JFK Stadium, firemen have been spraying water on fans. Apparently, calls are flooding the 1-800 Live Aid hotline set up to take donations for famine victims in Africa. Live Aid organizers are hoping to raise $50 million.
And what a crowd. The sets have been built, the lights are up, the phones are in place, everything is ready for the telethon that starts tonight right after Newswatch at 11. It's part of the Children's Miracle Network. All of the money raised locally will be donated to Shands Children's Hospital in Gainesville. Charna Davis and Rod Luck will be your hosts. There will be lots of stars. Doctors there say he's doing well enough to start enjoying home life once again.
There's been another medical breakthrough, but this one in the form of a computer. Reporter Miriam Thomas tells us about an ortho-optic analyzer that helps children to have a better focus on life.
Think of good vision as what the camera sees.
For CBS News, Miriam Thomas, Durham, North Carolina.
Karen Coulon has our Sunday forecast when Newswatch comes back.
Along with Ordnance Expo 86, the big ballistics display in Central Florida. That story and more when we come back.
Hi, I'm Bob McClellan. This is Fairway Chrysler Plymouth. If luxury...
And 10,000 people are expected to attend the expo.
Getting a big bang out of that, huh?
It's always a blast to have Karen Coulon here on weekends with us.
Thanks a lot, Mary.
Some explosive weather out there today?
Well, not really for Central Florida, and that's awfully ironic because as active as it's been, it's confined mainly to the western part of our state, the Northwest and South Florida, including a tornado warning for Dade County.
That could be serious.
But our weather was fairly calm, and we have a surprise in our statistics for the day. Go ahead and take a look. As we see what we entered for the record, you can get an indication of it looks a lot like July, so no big changes in our weather in the near future. Bob?
All right, thanks a lot, Karen. Bob Gosselin will have the weekend sports when Newswatch returns. Bob will show us a racehorse that has his own opinions about soft drinks. And don't laugh, the horse is a close personal friend of Gosselin's. Sports is next on Newswatch.
There are a lot of things that determine whether a crop...
Size 8.8 from Chevrolet. Hurry.
Bob Gosselin here with the sports, and Bob's got his horse, this time that likes soft drinks. Last week it was a fish that talked, right?
Well, that's coming up in a few minutes. Let's start out here. Little very light action this afternoon in Major League Baseball. One big game in the National League.
Grab a Pepsi, not only is it the choice of a new generation, but it makes a lot of horse sense as well.
Has he tried
Pepsi's sweeter.
Has he tried Classic Coke, though?
I don't know. I don't think he has. That's the next test, Classic Coke against Dr. Pepper, I guess. I don't know.
Horses do have a sweet tooth, that's true.
Thanks, Bob. We'll recap our top story when we come back.
Plus, we'll meet a rather unusual artist putting America's favorite pastime on canvas. His story when we come back.
Your Central Florida Pontiac dealers invite you to make
goods and more. These sales start Sunday. Be there.
Once again, tonight's top story, President Reagan is out of surgery and said to be doing beautifully. The operation lasted about 3 hours, and doctors removed a 2-inch polyp from the president's colon. It won't be known until Monday whether the growth itself was cancerous.
If you're a sports fan, especially a college sports fan...
Woods for CBS News, Oswego, Kansas.
Trotter horses like Pepsi. That's the top sports story. The last sports story.
And
One
showers
does anyway.
die down gradually. That's the weather story, and another typical July day tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. That's our early report for this Saturday evening. We'll be back at 11 with a complete update of the day's news.
Be sure to join us. Until then, have a good night.
days. This is CBS.
Coming up tonight on Newswatch, doctors for President Reagan say he's making a strong recovery from today's colon surgery. And the biggest concert in history comes to a grand finale in both England and the United States.
Thousands turn out for the Cool Jazz Festival at Orlando Stadium tonight, and the Reverend Jesse Jackson in Orlando to speak with county leaders. I'm Mary Hamilll.
And I'm Bob Sokoler. Newswatch 6 is next.
If you could talk to the animals.
This is WCPX TV6. This is Newswatch 6.
Good evening. President Reagan says he's feeling, quote, fit as a fiddle and has resumed his duties as chief executive. Doctors say the president is doing beautifully tonight after a 3-hour operation to remove a large polyp from his large intestine. In a letter drafted earlier today, Mr. Reagan took the unprecedented step of delegating the powers and duties of the presidency to Vice President George Bush while the president was under anesthesia. Bush decided to cut short a weekend at his home and setting up a makeshift White House at Bethesda Naval Hospital. The president will be working from there during his recovery.
Well, tonight, after 16 hours of nonstop music broadcast from Philadelphia and London, Live Aid, the Woodstock of the 80s, is nearing an end. More than 160,000 fans jammed Wembley Stadium in London and JFK Stadium in Philadelphia to watch the top pop rock acts. The show was also beamed around the world through satellite link-ups. Organizers of the concert are hoping to raise as much as $50 million to fight famine in Africa. In Philadelphia, firefighters used hoses to cool down fans sweltering in the summer sunshine. In Orlando tonight, it wasn't heat but rain that almost put a damper on the Cool Jazz Festival 85. Thousands of people paid $17.50 a ticket to see the Dazz Band, the Commodores, the Gap Band, Midnight Star, and Shalimar. The show this year featured 2 stages and a special sound and light system. Most everyone here seemed to have a good time. And best of all, the rain did seem to stay away from Orlando Stadium.
Keep watching for a full-scale Hollywood production.
In Orlando tonight, the Reverend Jesse Jackson in town for a planned speech tomorrow. The Reverend Jackson arrived at Orlando International Airport around 7 tonight during a news conference. Reverend Jackson criticized the Reagan administration's Middle East policy, saying more should be done to get the remaining 7 hostages out of Beirut.
The reality is we should pursue a process of negotiation over confrontation, seek release, and then reevaluate our policy in the Middle East.
Now, the speech the Reverend Jackson will deliver tomorrow takes place at the Wyndham Hotel. Listening to Jesse Jackson and New York Governor Mario Cuomo, members of the National Association of Counties. Several thousand members of the association arrived in Orlando today. Many of the delegates say they are opposed to the Reagan administration's plans to phase out federal revenue sharing. Also being discussed this weekend, President Reagan's proposed tax reform.
2 jets from the Navy's Precision Blue Angels team crashed in front of thousands of spectators today. They were performing in an air show in Niagara Falls, New York. The 2 jets grazed each other while performing a drill, then plunged to the ground. One of the pilots was killed, the other parachuted to safety. In Georgia today, a man will be buried next to his daughters who died as an infant.
Bob Gosselin is up next with all the sports on Newswatch.
Lots of action around the major leagues today, all the scores and highlights when we come back.
Come celebrate.
Dixie, we're right for you.
Bob Gosselin now here with the very latest in the sports world, and topping the list tonight, baseball.
That's very good. You're getting so good at that stuff.
Thank you, Bob.
Let's talk a little baseball. New leader in the National League West tonight, the Dodgers, now at 2:45 in the morning and 1:05 to 3:05 in the afternoon.
Great.
Plenty of time to fish and watch the telethon.
Excellent sportscast, by the way. Very nicely done.
Thank you, Bob. Take it away. Right.
Each year, millions of people are killed in auto accidents on highways across the country.
A Richmond, Virginia man is doing his part in helping to save lives on the road. Reporter John Carlin tells us about his convincing seatbelt machine.
I tell you, that machine can really make you a believer in seatbelts.
It looks like.
Yeah. Still ahead tonight on Newswatch.
Rod Luck was all over Central Florida looking for you today. We'll check out his travels in Florida sports today, next on Newswatch.
Is money...
Values packed.
A lot of people have been waiting all day for this moment right now. Rod Luck says today was made for him and photographer T. Taylor.
So let's watch and see what the day stirred up for them on McDonald's Florida Sports Today.
Back, right here on Channel 6. See you in a few minutes.
Just is a couple of minutes away. Long day for Rod Luck.
2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that.
And counting.
Yeah.
A final look at tonight's top story.
Plus tomorrow's forecast when we come back.
A long, exciting USFL season comes to a climax tomorrow night with the championship game. We'll tell you a little bit more about it at 6 o'clock.
And another typical summer day tomorrow with about a 50-50 chance of a shower late in the afternoon or the early evening.
Good time to watch the Telethon, I guess.
All righty, thank you, Karen and Bob. That's our late report for this Saturday night. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 with a full coverage of the day's news.
So be sure to join us then, and stay tuned tonight for the Children's Miracle Network Telethon coming up next. Have a good night.
Okay, come on out, folks. Come on out here and help us if you will, because everybody's working for us. We're all together. We're working for 29588. Sokoler is out, I believe, still at the Altamont Mall. We got Mike Berger and Charna Davis out front here. What are you all up to out there?
We're up to no good. Up to absolutely no good, other than raising money for CP today. And some of you saw this gentleman in our fishbowl just a while ago. That's right. Didn't tell. So would you? This is Lenny DePanasis, folks. He is the production director here at Channel 6. Hi, Lenny.
Hi. How are you?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How's Bob Sokoler doing?
Oh, Bob's Bob.
Okay, he's been at the mall now about an hour and a half, so he probably hit at least 5 or 6 shops to eat.
You notice Bob stretching the buttons, Louisa.
Those of us who know Bob well know that's the truth. But this man is in here. It's starting to get a little chilly. We need to keep him warm, so we need to put some money in. And we've got some people to help keep him warm. Come on over. You've got some money to give.
Hi, what's your name? Come right over here and say hello after you drop it off. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Jeff Cadera.
Thank you for your contribution, Jeff. We appreciate it. You can go right out this way. And your name?
My name is Mac Cadera.
Mike Adara? And Mac. And I'll bet you're in Adara too, aren't you?
My name is Molly Cadera.
Where'd you get those beautiful little freckles, huh?
I don't know.
You're cute. I tell you.
Mike, Charna, can you hear me?
Yes, Bob, we can hear you.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to let you know that we're enjoying ourselves here at the mall. I see Lenny in the fishbowl. I would have asked you to possibly make him stand up. Oh, you say he is. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that he was standing up.
What did you want to say to him, Lenny?
Well, this is a challenge, but we're really here to raise some money, so I really won't put that challenge on the air, but it will have something to do with our next weigh-in, maybe $10 a pound. I'll come way ahead of that.
That's possible. That'll all go to UCP, of course, so that could mean an extra $1,000 on both of them.
More money too, Bob.
Lenny has lost before, and he'll lose again, incidentally.
Oh, no, we've got some more money, Bob. Wait a second.
But listen, all right, wait a second. Mike and Charna Davis, I want to show you this.
Who's Charna Davis?
Who's Charna Davis?
Yeah, who's Charna Davis?
Well, I tell you who she is, but I wouldn't want to be accused of wasting valuable airtime. So let me ask you, who are you?
We're from Forest Lake Academy.
Okay.
And we'd like to challenge all the students in the Central Florida area to donate more money to cerebral palsy.
And you have $1, you're going to throw that in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Charna, Mike, top that. Back to you.
Well, that's no problem, actually, Bob, because Rick from Heavy Duty Park stopped by.
I'm Mark. Hi, Derek. I'm Rick. Bye.
See y'all, ladies.
Rick from Heavy Duty Parts knew who we were, but they never heard of Bob Sokoler, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Well, I figured you'd come back with something like that, Charna.
Here we go.
All right, now, more people. Where are you all from?
Deltona.
Deltona. You want to give names?
Robert Cuevas.
Okay, Bob.
Come on, Bob. We've got a contributor here. What's your name, sir?
Gary, what's up?
Gary, it's nice to meet you. Nice to have you here with us today.
Yeah, $12.
$12. Gary, that just proves that every dollar helps to fight UCP. So if we'll just put it in here, okay? Thank you so much, Gary.
Oh, that's great.
And here you are. Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me, folks. I'll just leave for a second there. That's for Florida State, right? Oh, she's a Gator fan.
You're doing both.
I'd say the Gators are winning. By the way, everybody is wanting to know where Glenn and Carol are today because everybody else at Channel 6 is deeply involved in the telethon. And first of all, I'm sure many of you understand that Glenn is on his way right now to Ethiopia with the
Protect a Kid money.
with the money and the clothes and the food and everything. And Carol's
having a little minor surgery on her foot.
Yeah.
And we hope, if you're watching, Carol, we hope you're feeling real good and you can have a little vacation next week. So feel better.
And Carol, if you're sitting at home right now, let me just say to you, you look marvelous. You really
and Carol,
do.
if you're at home watching us and you're nice and warm, we're going to get you with this because the clouds have moved in. It's cooling off a little bit. Seriously, we want everybody to stop by. And again, we are at 4466 John Young Parkway. Tell them how to get here, Charna.
That's the same thing as Lee Road. Take I-4 to the Lee Road exit.
Now, also, we're here at the Altamont Mall. We'll be here till 5:30.
Interrupt me.
Now, wait a second. We're here till 5:30. We've got people here from Deltona. Yeah. Their names quickly again.
Robert Cuevas.
Beth Rubin, Rebecca Rubin.
And you just put another $1 in. Any challenges to anybody up in Deltona?
Well, I think everyone should give something of themselves to help those less fortunate.
Oh, that's very nice. Very nice. All right. Thank you very much here. Charna, Mike, I appreciate the fact that you're out in the cold. Good hand for the people there.
But Bob, we are not cold. We still have some of those passes for a free Nautilus workout at Jim Flanagan Center if you'd like to stop by. Any donation, right? Tell them to call.
And we've got our fishbowl here
295-8866, by the way, if you'd like to call and make a contribution and can't stop by the fishbowl.
This has really been great. Bob, Mike, and Charna, everybody helping us. People, come on by. Come on by the mall. Come by the front here at this beautiful facility and put something in the fishbowl. Keep those people happy, but, you know, that makes us all happy. I'll go out in front here just a moment. Oh, no, I think over the Altamont Mall. Bob Sokoler's still over there. Does Bob have something for us over at the Altamont Mall? Let's see.
Well, we sure do, Art. All throughout the afternoon, people have been coming here and donating money, putting into our fish bowls. More people. Your name?
Dixie.
Lewis, Lance. And you've got $3. $4, I'm sorry. Go ahead, put it in. In back of you, you're?
Randy.
And Randy, putting some money, give a challenge also?
I want to challenge the churches of Central Florida.
Okay. And also, Art, take a look at this. Come in here, ladies. These ladies, how old are you?
8.
8? 8. Turn to the camera so people at home can see. And you have $1 that you're going to donate. Go ahead, put that money in there. Now, you have a message also, I understand, to the people at home, right?
Yes. Call and donate.
Call and donate money?
Call and donate money.
Folks, here are the kids. These kids are healthy, and they're smiling. They're happy. They're able to walk here on their own power and put money into this fishbowl and to help out others. They're asking you to do the same thing, to call the station right now. We're wrapping up here right now at the Altamont Mall, so we'll be leaving and heading back to the station. From here on into the end of the telethon, we're asking that you call the people at the station. They're waiting to take your telephone calls and to donate some money, right?
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. Art, back to you.
Bob, you're just doing a fabulous job. You give it a whole new dimension. It's just great to see. Davis, yet at the fishbowl. Let's run out there for just a moment. Mike.
Thanks, Art. You know, we told you a little bit earlier that Rod Luck's carp may drown if we didn't get some more money in here.
We're doing fine. You want to meet him?
Here's Rod Luck's carp, folks. The one and only Carp Sokoler. Hey, Bob, what is this? You trying to walk off with the money from the fishbowl?
No. You just stuffed it in my pocket because you wanted to make it look like I was doing that. No. We just came down from the mall, and we'll be donating the money that we've got from the mall next segment.
All right, fantastic.
We tease each other, but we really do like each other.
Yeah, let's get these two sweaters, folks. You got to see. Come on in here, girls. Quickly, because we don't have a lot of time. We want everybody to donate the money. What was your name?
Heather.
Heather, thank you for coming by and putting some money in the fishbowl.
Poor Heather.
My sister Shannon and the unit cerebral palsy.
Thank you. Drop it right on the carp there. Thank you. Come on in, girls. And your name?
Kathy and Jim.
Here, turn around this way so everybody can see at home, Kathy. Huh? How about this, folks? Never get in an accident. And you've got some money for us?
Yes, we do.
And you want to issue a challenge or anything, or just get everybody to donate money
Just to
to
get
CP?
everybody to donate.
Great. It's
Gator
more
money.
gator money, wouldn't you know it? Okay, put it in there. We'll take it. It's all for a worthy cause. Here's a young lady over here, and your name?
Sally.
Hi, Sally. How are you today?
Okay.
You want to drop that money in the fishbowl for CP? There you go. Thank you. Whoa! Two times. Come on in. All right. Come on in. We've got a couple of Dolphin fans here. Are you going out to out to Palo Alto to the Super Bowl?
No, I wish.
No, you wish. More money for CP, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just drop it right in there. Thank you. Step right out this way. And your name?
Tina.
Tina? Thank you for your contribution. What happened to your finger, by the way? Broke it in basketball. Okay, do we have someone else here? Here's a young lady. Hi there. How are you? And your name? And you've got a contribution for CP? Put it right in that fishbowl. $10 big dollars. Give that young lady a hand. All right.
I've got another Gator donation, Dr. Linda.
Oh,
as
get
she was
out of
leaving,
here.
said another. She gave it to me because she knew if she gave it to you, it would turn into a Seminole.
Come on, Seminole fans. 4466 John Young Parkway. Come down to the fishbowl and drop your money in, Art.
Hey, thank you. And I've got another phone call here, a $200 pledge, right? So I got somebody on the line.
Yes.
And who is on the line?
Art, this is Bob Carson.
Bob Carson.
Right.
138,000. That was the last tote. Let's spin those numbers and see where we go. There they're spinning now, and out they stop. $183,000, Jack. $183,000. We're over last year right now. Do you realize that? Yeah. No, wait, we went off the air about there, but we got more coming in, and I know that there are more people coming in, and there's more phones. We need those phones ringing, folks. Now, don't quit now. Don't quit now. 295-8866. And we've got some more to talk to with the back here in the back of the room, and we've got some outside. Let's go outside for the moment and see what's happening at the fishbowl. How about it? We still have the folks out of the fishbowl, do we not?
Yeah, we're here. We're ready. We're
We're standing real close.
But you know what's so heartwarming and warming to all of us at Channel 6 is all the people that have donated money. And Bob, you were in the Altamont Mall today. I'm sure you ran into a lot of people that were really involved with CP.
Let's see your little fishbowl.
Yeah.
Here's the fishbowl. They were, and we collected at the Altamont Mall. Now, we weren't there a long time. And people, there weren't a whole lot of people there. There were a good number, but not a whole lot. I shouldn't apologize for it, right?
No, you got some money for CP.
30 plus. 30
All
plus.
right. Put it in a fishbowl, Bob.
30 plus.
And I'll tell you what, we have some more people that have stopped by the fishbowl, and we'll remind you again, it's at 4466 John Young Parkway, and you can still come down here. We're going to be here for a little while. Come on here. Come on in here. Now, we have some small donators here.
We've been waiting a long
Hi
time.
there. Wait just a second. If you'll hold them up, and Charna, if you'll hold the microphone, I like little girls.
And who are you?
Here, huh?
Ryan,
Ryan, what are you going to give me?
the money,
Why?
so to help your children get well.
Oh,
Well,
all right.
thank
That's great.
you.
Well,
And
look
what's
at
your
the camera
name?
now, Brian.
What's your name? What's her name?
Bethy.
And you get Bethy's got money for us
You
too.
got some money,
You
Bethy?
give that to me.
You want to just drop
You
it
want to drop it in
there?
yourself?
All right, here you go. And in it goes.
Okay.
Caught in Betty's fingers.
We decided to let her keep her toy. Thank you very much.
Someone else, come on in here. Hi there. What's your name?
Anthony.
Anthony?
Yeah.
You've got some money for CP today? Yep. Fine. So, turn around there, wave at everybody. There's Anthony, folks. Put a couple of bucks in there, Anthony. Thank you.
You know, we've been having a challenge going. Who's that for? The University of Florida? For Florida?
Florida State.
All right.
$1 for me for my for Florida, $1 for me for Florida State, and $1 for my brother for Florida.
Oh,
All right. See, it's towards the end of the telethon. We're all working together for the same thing.
That's true. All the money goes to CP. And we want to remind everyone that still in the outlying areas like Deltona and DeBerry and DeLand and Leesburg, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, all of the towns, the beaches, Melbourne, Cocoa, you'll see the numbers on your TV screen from time to time. Pick up the phone and call. Donate some money. Doesn't need to be a lot of money. The more, of course, the better everyone is who's involved with the telethon. But every dollar counts. Every dollar helps.
And we realize it's a little cold out. It's dinner time. You may not want to get in your car and come out and visit us.
Right.
We understand.
Sure.
We're not offended, are we?
But we'll warm you up. We'll warm you up. Come on out here. Don't worry about the fact
They will,
What's the
believe me,
temperature
they
out
will.
here, do you know?
Oh, let's see. It's about 45 degrees.
What are we doing out here without coats on? What?
That's our scientific weather equipment.
That's right. Way you do it, folks.
But if you don't feel like coming out, go ahead, pick up the phone. It's really easy to go ahead and dial
And what's even nicer is you've got these big spotlights to show you where we are.
That's right.
Just look for those spotlights in the sky and follow them here to John Young Parkway.
And we'll be waiting here.
And as Johnny Olson says, come on down. Back to you, Art.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Come on down. That's right. Come on down and put some money in the fishbowl. That's right. And we've been having a great time today. A great time because it's exciting to see how people have turned out and called in and made those pledges. We don't have much time left. If you haven't made your pledge, then make it now. 295-8866. But I want to go down this panel once more because I know there's some things that are going on here. They've had some wonderful phone calls, and I want to talk to some of you people. Now, John W. Holloway. Okay, let's start with you. What have you got to tell everybody out there in this great community? I know you've got some pledges you want to talk about.
Well, first off, collectively, I've been able to collect about $15,750.
$15,750? Did you hear that? $15,000. Let's hear it, everybody. $15,000. That is fantastic, John.
I'd like to acknowledge a phone call I just received from Shannon Peace, from Cassie Doherty, Donna Mooney, who donated her whole week's paycheck this week, Tim Frush, Dorothy Baker, Sean William Holloway. I got 2 donations from him. He's my son. Alice Atherton, Sal Robato, Leon Huffman with Rex Huffman and Associates, Brad Taylor with ABC, the employees of ABC Liquor and